the 2017 Lexus GS F. Now, this is what you would consider an old school hot rod muscle car sedan, and if you're in the market for one, I'd suggest that you hurry because they're not going to be around a whole lot longer. I'm Jay, and welcome to this latest episode of CarBuzz Unboxing Reviews, and yeah, I'm pretty excited because this is the one and the only Lexus GS F. It's got a naturally aspirated 5.0-liter V8 engine that's something the BMW M5 doesn't even have. In fact, all this car's direct competitors don't have naturally aspirated engines anymore. But I'll get back to all the engine details in just a few minutes here, but just to give you some history of the GS lineup. Now, the original first-generation Lexus GS first launched in 1991, and it's always been standard with rear-wheel drive and optional V8 power. Now, for many years, the GS lineup just really couldn't find itself when compared to the much more successful Lexus ES and LS, and basically Lexus was trying to offer a real BMW 5 Series alternative, and up until this generation, the fourth generation, the GS just really wasn't. But I want you to hear this engine, and we're going to talk more about that, and you're going to understand why this is an awesome car. Alright, so that was that 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. So get this, 467 horsepower and 389 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters. Power, of course, is sent directly to the rear wheels. Now, this is truly a great engine. Now, its direct competitors, by the way, have about an additional 100 horsepower, but that doesn't matter in this case. And just looking at this exterior styling, it's painted this ultrasonic blue mica paint that costs about an extra $595, and I think it looks spectacular. So, some of the styling of this car, especially the front end, you'll get a better look of it throughout this online video here. It's a little controversial, especially with that large spindle grille. It kind of reminds some people of Darth Vader's helmet from Star Wars. I can see that, but I like this car's design. I think its edginess matches the way it drives and its overall soul and character. You also have these large 19-inch forged alloy wheels with Brembo ventilated disc brakes. Like I said, this is a muscle car sedan. I mean, if you're looking at a Ford Mustang, but you need a large sedan because you have a family, this should definitely be on your list if your budget allows it. And when I get to pricing later on, I think you're going to be a little shocked, but we'll get there. Now, again, looking at it from just the side view here, I think this just looks spectacular. Now, compared to the BMW M5, I think this is the better looking car. In my opinion, this current generation M5 has gone soft. Yes, it is more powerful than ever, but it doesn't have that old school driving feel and sound that older M5s have had. In fact, a lot of BMW M cars of the past, I think, and I know I'm not alone on this, are better than the latest M cars today in terms of having a soul. Maybe the BMW M2 is an exception, but that's an entirely different segment of cars here. And yeah, I really do love this wheel design. Again, it's aggressive and it matches the overall exterior. And you also have standard are these triple beam LED headlights, and that's just it's something that you should expect on luxury cars today as standard LED high beam units. They're great for safety too. So back to this engine here, that 5-liter V8, 0 to 60 miles per hour, 4.4 seconds, 0 to 100 miles per hour, 10.3 seconds. Top speed is electronically limited to 168 miles per hour. Now, fuel economy. It's not good. 16 miles per gallon in the city, 24 on the highway, and a combined 19, although we only managed 11 miles per gallon as a combined total. Now, this vehicle weighs just over 4,100 pounds, so no, it's not at all lightweight at all, but because it has that naturally aspirated V8, it's just unapologetic when it comes to drinking fuel by the gallon load. Now, looking at this interior here, I really like it. Perhaps my biggest and really only complaint is the steering wheel. Even though it's covered in leather, it feels great. It's just sort of bland looking, but that's just my personal opinion here. Oh yes, and I do have another complaint. What looks like carbon fiber trim along the doors and dash and the center console, well, that's not real carbon fiber, that's fake carbon fiber. It's plastic. And for a car in this price bracket, it definitely should have real carbon fiber. But on the other hand, everything else, is covered in leather and Alcantara trim, and it's just like with any Lexus interior, the quality is spectacular. Rear seat space. Yeah, it's actually fairly spacious. Now, legroom is a little, cutting it short slightly, especially maybe for passengers over 6 feet tall, but I don't think it's a really major concern here. I also just like the detailing that goes into these leather-covered seats. It looks great. I love that F badge stitched into the headrest there, front and rear. And I've always been a stickler for just the little details here, and Lexus has done a nice job with that, with, again, the exception of the fake carbon fiber. Now, there's another thing that Lexus has done very recently in terms of upping the testosterone, shall we say, is that it's given its interiors, or the interior design rather, an overhaul, and I think it looks a lot better. Lexus interiors, just until about, let's say, maybe 3-4 years ago, were again just as bland looking as the cars were on the outside, and with this GSF here, I think this is just a simple but really sporty and luxurious looking dash design. And I really like the way that 12.3-inch infotainment screen just dominates the top of the dash there. I like that. This car, it's just, again, the way its engine is, its exterior design, as well as the interior design, it's unapologetic. But another kind of cool, classy touch is that regular clock that they got there, instead of something analog. And yep, there is more of that, not real carbon fiber, but, what can you do? And as I mentioned, everything is just very nicely put together here. You're buying a quality product. But yeah, that steering wheel, to me, it's just kind of bland. And as far as this infotainment system goes and how it works, I thought it was just fine. Compared to, again, I'm just going to use this this example that I use often, BMW's iDrive. This is kind of as good, but not quite. I think it is certainly better than Toyota's Entune system. I played around with that, and believe it or not, a Toyota Corolla. And I just thought that, wow, I was shocked that Toyota is still using Entune compared to so many better systems out there today. But what you see here in the GSF is more than satisfactory. Now, some other features you're going to get in the GSF that are optional. Now, our tester came pretty well equipped. It has the Mark Levinson 17-speaker audio system that costs about an extra $1,400, and I would definitely go for it. That's kind of interesting. Instead of having a typical rotary dial that you can control the infotainment system here, you just have that little rectangular button there that kind of goes back and forth, side to side. It's a different way of doing the exact same thing as opposed to BMW iDrive. You have that rotary dial instead. Of course, you have this standard dual zone climate control. We're seeing that more and more often in just non-luxury cars as well. And the front seat passengers, they have, I think, very well bolstered seats. And you're going to want that in a car like this because it just wants to play. You have 10-way power driver's seat and 8-way front passenger seat too. So that's really good to have. So how does it drive? Well, let's be honest here. This is a muscle car sedan, naturally aspirated V8. It's got very precise steering. It's got the F-spec double wishbone front and rear suspension. It's very well tuned, and it just inspires cornering and confidence. it's kind of almost like what you find in a lighter performance car. Now, in a way, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, this thing moves around much like a larger Subaru BRZ, and that car was just designed from the get-go for driving enthusiasm, and I experienced it in this vehicle. And the overall handling, and this is good, it's predictable. It's just begging you to drive this car hard. And in terms of overall horsepower output, I do think this car is a little underpowered. Now, bear in mind, it's got about 100 horsepower less than the BMW M5. So if you're comparing the M5 and this GSF in a straight line shootout, the M5 it's gonna win. But when it comes to the actual driving on curvy mountain roads, you're going to want to be in this GSF instead of the M5. Now, there is a next generation M5 coming out in the next several months, probably in March 2017 at Geneva, so we'll have to wait and see what BMW has in store with that. Now, driving modes, you have Eco, Normal, Sport Plus, and Sport Plus S. So, Eco, I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be more economical, but you can easily drive this car in normal and be kind of more careful on the gas, and you'll get very similar gas mileage. We actually think that Lexus just put in the eco driving mode to satisfy the US government to say, hey, we're at least making an effort to be fuel efficient, but like I said, with a combined 11 miles per gallon that we manage with this vehicle, it's really not fuel efficient. In terms of safety, you have a lot of standard features: front airbags, driver and front passenger knee airbags, side curtain airbags, ABS brakes, stability and traction control, you'll need that, blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert, pre-collision warning, pedestrian detection, and cruise control with lane departure warning. So what's the competition aside from the BMW M5? For starters, you have the Cadillac CTS-V, as well as the Audi S6, Mercedes-AMG E63, and believe it or not, the Maserati Ghibli. Now, all those vehicles they're expensive. The Maserati and the Audi start off at around $72,000. Now, the Cadillac begins at around $85,000, the M5, $95,000, and the Mercedes-AMG E63, just over $100,000. So this vehicle, now, if you were to go for a base GS, now that does not have the naturally aspirated V8, it's just a large rear-wheel drive sedan, that base is at $46,310. Now, the base GS F begins at $84,440. Now, our tester, combined with the upgraded audio system and the $950 destination fee, grand total $87,470. Yeah, that is very, very expensive, considering a BMW M5 costs a few $1,000s more. But if you're willing to spend $87,000 on a car, you're not going to care about spending a few $1,000s more for that BMW. And I think this car is a bit overpriced for what it is. And what is it? Oh, man, in the words of Jeremy Clarkson, when he gave this car a test drive, he said the GSF sedan, it is the best car Lexus has built since the LFA, and I completely agree with him. So what do I like? Well, the styling inside and out, that V8 in this car is just a blast to drive and just gets a lot of attention. And as you can just see, you can even get a baby seat in there just fine. And it's a family sedan too, and you can have a ridiculous amount of fun behind the wheel. Now, what don't I like? Well, the transmission is kind of slow in a few shifts, up and down shifting as well. I think possibly a dual clutch would have served this car better, but then again, it would have added weight. And my other two complaints is it's not fuel efficient at all, and it's expensive. I think it's at least $10,000 more than what it should be. But the bottom line is, look, this is old school, high performance, and it's just underrated in the marketplace right now. It's as a naturally aspirated V8 muscle car sedan. Let's be honest here; its days are numbered. If there is a next generation Lexus GS F, I don't think it's going to have a naturally aspirated V8, and that's kind of a shame. BMW, Audi, Cadillac, they're all either turbo or supercharging their engines, which is fine, but you don't get that V8 sound. You don't get that, or rather, the naturally aspirated V8 sound and that naturally aspirated V8 attitude. And the overall exterior styling, look, I dig it. I really do. Especially the little touches. Look at that rear exhaust there. Instead of just putting them side by side, they're stacked at an angle, and that's just cool. The rear styling here, it's definitely not as offensive looking as the front for some. It's actually quite tame in my opinion, but I like what Lexus is doing overall these days, design-wise, inside and out, especially with that large Spindo front grille. So anyway, I'm out of time, everyone, today. Thanks so much for watching. Any more questions for me, leave them in the comments section below. And be sure to subscribe to the CarBuzz Unboxing YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.